Hello everyone, John Donnelly's my name from Your Holistic Academy, and I have a very special guest today with me, Harriet McGuigan. How are you doing today, Harriet?
I'm great, John, and we were just saying how amazing technology is, that we're on Zoom and we're live streaming to Facebook. You know, this is just absolutely fantastic. And also that I got to meet you because of COVID, because of going to Pat Slattery's outstanding academy, you know, every morning, or every Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's great, Harriet. And as I say, the world's not a small place, isn't it? Because like we can do this anywhere in the world now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great for spiritual people and people on their journey to kind of come into their truth, because it can be lonely, you know, and that's what I find, that because of using the internet in a positive way, we can meet people in Maynooth, people in Oma, people in Utah, people in Canada, and we're all, like I interviewed a lady recently, John, and amazing lady, and that was over in India. But the language of love and the language of truth is translatable.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Yeah. So, Harry, tell us a little bit about you're a mindset coach, really. That's really what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And you started.
So I'm a mindset strategist around it.
Yeah. It's just a little bit.
Sorry, John. What I missed what you said there.
Yeah, a little bit of interference there, Harriet. You started out as a Montessori teacher, Harriet. Before that, was it?
Yeah, when I went to college first, I did a business degree, and then I went back and I trained in did a postgrad in Montessori education. Sorry, I think, are we delayed? We're all right.
Just a little
just
bit.
Keep going. We'll use modern. We'll bless the technology.
Yeah, it's a little bit of interference, but sure.
So basically, I know. Bear with us, guys. It says I have full internet, but this happens sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, so basically, I did a business degree because I wanted to go to Dublin. Didn't. Obviously, it really stands to me now running my own business, being an entrepreneur. But moved on from that and did a postgraduate diploma in Montessori education. And I guess, unbeknownst to me, I was always interested in helping people to help themselves. I mean, that was because I wanted to learn how to help myself. I like, you know, from chatting with Edith Edgar, I wasn't chatting to her, but I felt like it was so intimate on Friday. We were both there, John. And she said, victims are rigid, survivors are flexible. So unconsciously, I always wanted to find a way to survive rather than be a victim of life circumstances, and help. Now I help others to connect with their survival instincts rather than feeling that life, like that I have to hand over my power to life.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Harriet. Yeah. So the coaching then, you've done psychotherapy and that sort of thing. That's your sort of background in the coaching.
Yeah, I help entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs I work with, they come to me they're underperforming and they've no conscious idea why, John. Like there's no reason why they're underperforming, in terms of like they're doing everything they possibly can with their social media and all their strategies. So I help them change their mindset. That's my strategy. They start changing their own mindset, get laser focused, and then they move into kind of being more empowered, so that business starts to flow for them, and they start kind of pushing themselves into areas that they normally, their head would tell them, oh, don't go there, don't try this. So get them back active in their lives, or lives actually being active.
Yeah. And one of your quotations I was reading, Harriet, was the longest journey you will ever take is the 18 inches from your head to your heart. So pause, reconnect, and proceed. So tell us a little bit about that journey from your head to your heart. How does that work for you?
Yeah, and it says a lot about you that you were drawn to that quote too, because obviously with the work that you've created and how because often as you know, holistic entrepreneurs, we need that bit of support business-wise. So thank you for what you've set up, John. And it is so interesting, like the head to the heart connection. It's not that far away physically. But when we've been hurt or traumatized or have had life experiences, or just the men in the family behave this way, or this is what the women do, you know, like I'm reading Edith Edgar's book, The Gift, at the moment, and she's saying, you know, that she didn't know how to teach her children about feelings when she wasn't beating herself up, but she was saying she didn't want to know about being a Holocaust survivor. She never mentioned it until her daughter came home one day and said, Mom, do you know about the Holocaust? And she said she froze. And then it kind of, you know, the can of worms was open. So I believe that we're absolutely superpowered if we can work with our hearts and our brains, because we're so amazing intelligence-wise. I mean, when I do guided meditations with people, I tell them there's no computer, there's no Zoom, there's no app being developed at the moment as amazing as the capacity and the ideas that we have in our brain. So when you connect that with your heart and do what you're doing for good, then I mean the world is our oyster. Because like I remember years ago, John, I'll tell you a story. I was working as and friends that was flying with me mentioned that her aunt was a chaplain in Mountjoy prison. She was a nun and she was the chaplain there. And I hadn't started to study psychotherapy or anything. This was after my business degree. And I said, oh my God, I would so love to visit Mountjoy prison. I would love to go in and visit the prisoners. And my friend was just like, are you okay? Why would you want to do that? Crazy. Yeah. And so anyway, she said, well, if you really want to go, I can organize that. Like my aunt is the chaplain, one of the chaplains there. I was like, oh my God, this would be amazing. So basically I got to visit the prison, met the governor and was shown around, like got invited back then to see the prisoners in a play. They did The Field by John B. Keane. John B. Keane's family were all there. But my point is, the governor said to me the day I was visiting, and he was showing me like all this paraphernalia that they had to keep collecting, you know, weapons, and how people, like how they were trying to be creative about getting out or smuggling drugs in. And he said, there's so much talent in this prison. So if I bring it back to like our intellect and our heart, there's so many amazing, talented people in this prison. Yeah. But unfortunately, due to their life circumstances, due to their mindset, they're using their intelligence and they're using it to smuggle drugs in and to create drug cartels and to get involved in hit and runs or, you know, one-off shootings and all of this. But it really got me thinking as a 21-year-old. I mean, as I went into study Montessori education, that we can either go down the route of creating huge good and leaving a legacy of good, or we can use that intelligence in the Mountjoy way. Yeah. It's the same thing, but it's just a different side of the coin. Yeah.
And so I guess, Harriet, people's
it's kind of provocative to say that, but that's where we can go. We can use our
Sorry, Harriet. Yeah, I guess people's it's a choice, really, isn't it, as to how we sort of, what our intention really is, what's our intention in the world, how do we connect to that intention, and it's how do we make those more sort of more conscious choices, if you like, and that's where your mindset work is so important then. Yeah.
Yes, John, like what you were talking this morning when I was asking you when I said, how are you? You said, I'm wonderful. I got up this morning, had my run, meditated, got some rest, you know, and realizing that how we start our day has an impact on the rest of our day. Yeah. And you being strategic, I mean, that's where the strategy comes in. And it's finding our own, I love to help people find their own strategy in relation to that. Like, meditation isn't for everyone. I find meditation amazing, and I love guided meditation. I love walking meditation. I love being creative with listening to different speakers in relation to meditation. But meditation can be mindful coloring, turning the radio off when we're doing the washing up, just having a half hour not being on our social, you know, it's, but I love to get people to think about being creative to their own lives, because John you've an idea of what works for you in the morning, and someone else, it could be something completely different. It could be going out watching the hens, you know, sometimes that can be we have hens here down in Kerry, and just watching them potter about can actually calm anything to bring us into the present moment, calms our nervous system and heals that trauma that we're all traumatized in our own way, because as long as we're human, we're traumatized. And then some of us have more extreme stories than others. But the fact of being human and having to live in a human body is traumatic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I guess the conditioning, I suppose our conditioning, we take on board a lot of stuff over the years, and society, from education, from society, from politics, from everything. And obviously those layers of conditioning, Harriet. So we gotta at some point in life, we gotta sort of sit and look at that and think, what's this all about, and what's the real purpose of my life here? And yeah, so that's the conscious, again, back to the conscious decisions that we make every day.
Yeah, and nobody's going, like I did a talk last night, and I was reminding everyone listening today, no, we're adults now. So, you know, if I drink Coca-Cola all day, there's nobody going to knock on my door and saying you shouldn't be having Coca-Cola. There's like 15 spoons of sugar in it. You know, when we're kids, maybe someone said that to us, but we can do whatever we want as adults, whatever we want. And that can be a blessing, and it can be a challenge, because the kind of lower self part of us, the overwhelmed part of us, that's what I really help people with. Get their overwhelm. Help them really come into the bones of themselves, so they're not overwhelmed. Because overwhelm, what does overwhelm mean? Overwhelm is when, like, we're just flooded, like you start the car in the morning, and you know, if you're going at it, and then you flooded the engine, you're not going to go anywhere.
Sure.
And as humans, we overwhelm ourselves. So there's so much information now. There's so many apps. There's so many, like, we're bombarded with holistic information.
Yeah.
However, we have to meet ourselves where we're at. I mean, that's what if there was anything I'd love your audience to hear today, meet yourself and be realistic where you're at. So it's like, you don't give a starving man a feast. If a beggar arrived at my door and he hadn't eaten in days, I wouldn't give him a big, rich roast dinner that my husband would have probably cooked, because he's the cook here. But I wouldn't give him that, because he could vomit. It would be too much. So it's the same when we're trying to digest spiritual information, or trying to become more conscious. It's meeting ourselves where we're at. And it's so good when you can have someone hold your hand to bring you through, you know, that journey. It's not so easy to do it on our own. I mean, I know I've needed huge leaders in my life that I still stay very connected to. And then I know that the people that work with me are so grateful. They say, you did this for me, Harriet. And I didn't do anything for anyone, John. And that's what I tell them. I said, I held your hand and walked with you. But we all know, and you know this, John, that we have to do it ourselves. We come in alone, we die alone. However, we can have good people with us on the path.
Yeah, sure. And it's that connection with the right, I guess, with the right energy, Harriet, and the right community, if you like, is for me, that's the most important thing. Again, that's a choice. Who do you connect yourself to? Who do you learn from? You know, and for me, obviously, it's somebody who's gone on that path before. Somebody who's, we talked about climbing the mountain. Somebody that's climbed the mountain already, Harriet. In terms of our self-awareness and our self-consciousness. And you mentioned the lower self there and the higher self. So it's like somebody who's already traveled that road. That's who we need to spend our time with. That's who we need to find. Yeah,
I agree. It's like you said, that they know, if we even use the metaphor of the mountain, and I'm looking out at lovely mountains here in Kerry where my office is, and those mountains, it is helpful if we go to Carrauntoohil, or we climb the McGillicuddy Reeks, one of the peaks being Carrauntoohil, or we go to Kilimanjaro. It's nice to have a guide getting up that mountain. He's going to still, you know, you're going to have to do the steps yourself, but he'll know where there's drops and crevices and where to take a break and have some food. And it's the very same thing, like what you said, someone that's been on this path a little longer, and not even giving all our power over to the person either, because the perfect guide is someone who actually keeps, like, I got feedback last week and it was just so refreshing to get it. She said, she's a perfectly flawed human being who continuously does her own work. And that's what makes it safe for me to trust her. So like the guide, if you were going up the mountain with a guide who was arrogant, you know, shit can happen.
Yes.
storms can come. Whereas if you've got a humble guy going, we need to respect the mountain. So, you know, I have experience, but we have to gauge how the weather is. You feel much more relaxed. And that's when we're on this journey, we need to keep doing our own work. That's our success. That's how people come to us.
And you've been on that personal development journey for what, about 20 years now, Harriet, but you're continuing to learn, continuing to grow all the time.
More than 20, 18, I would say the first time, probably before 18, but consciously 18.
Yeah. And along that journey, you've probably met some phenomenal people, and you've studied under some great people, and you continue to seek those people out in your life then,
Exactly, and continue getting support from some amazing senior guides that, you know, keep me on the straight and narrow so that I can keep my clients on the straight and narrow, you know. And, you know, we were both at that Zoom call on Friday, thanks to Donna Kennedy, you know, who ran Fearless. And, you know, it was just amazing to hear Edith Edgar speak at 93, still seeing clients, so alive. It really, you know, I thought, wow, I could technically be here for another 50 years. So all you guys listening, how are you going to live your wild and precious life? Mary Oliver, the poet, said, tell me what you're going to do with your wild and precious life, what you're going to do breath by breath. You know, every day is a precious day. It's like, you know, my dad's going to be 70 at Christmas, and he was like, oh, we won't mention the age. And I said, Dad, aging is a blessing denied to many. And he said, oh yeah, you're right, Harriet.
I felt that Edith Egar's talk, she was just so connected to spirit, really. That's what I felt from her talk. She was just so connected to the human spirit, and her spirit was just, you know, it was just incredible. It was shining through at 93 years of age. It's incredible, So how do you?
And you saw that too. You saw that too because you're connected to your spirit. We only see that in others, you know. So sorry, what were you asking me?
How do you connect to that spirit every day? What do you need to be doing every day?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Yeah, really good question. So it's a mixture of what you said, really being strategic about the company I keep. So I'm very, very conscious about who is nourishing for me and who I bless but keep more space from. It's not my job to give anyone feedback, only my clients, and I'm a mom, so obviously I teach my kids manners, but it's not my authority to give anyone feedback about bad behavior, only in relation to when people want to improve that are paying me to want it to be their best selves. So I'm very, very conscious of what company I keep. I give advice to people. Your social media feed is a reflection of yourself. So our algorithms on our social media picks up what we watch. So, you know, people often say, oh, Facebook is so negative, I'm getting off Facebook. But Facebook isn't negative. If we're following negative posts, then the algorithms will bring more negativity onto your page. So like whenever something comes up, or if I make a new friend, you know, through business, and there's something that doesn't align with me, I'll just unfollow the person. I don't have to have a big announcement that I'm unfollowing them. But that's a bit of advice as well, that what comes into our nervous system every day does impact us. It can lead to us feeling depressed or wanting to express ourselves. And, you know, another little tip I'll give the audience, John, is I have no control over people. I mean, because I work for myself and I work from home, and like I don't usually come around negative behavior that frequently anymore. But if someone, I get a sense of, like the way you picked up Edith Edgar's spirit, if I sense, oh, they're not going to be a fit for me, or we're not aligned, I can just, guys, you don't even have to give feedback to them. Just change the subject. Just like I tell my daughter that about, you know, how to cope with people being mean and stuff. Just literally kind of talk, bring the conversation to something else about, oh, you did a lovely walk this morning. So it's never our job to be cruel to people. However, we don't have to, if someone's talking badly about someone, I have a choice to either divert the conversation or make a white lie to finish the call.
So you're careful then, very careful about who you spend your time with, and also about what you allow into your awareness, Harriet. And then what other things do you do then on a day-to-day basis? Meditation obviously important to you as well, yeah?
Yeah, walking, I just like that connects me with my spirit. I walk every day with my dogs and my husband. I love music. I absolutely adore music. So for those of you who love music and you haven't allowed yourself to listen to music recently, it's so nourishing. And I mean, the beauty of Spotify now is that you can pay a couple of euro a month and you can have access to whatever artist you want, whatever genre of music. You can listen to any podcast you want. So we can create our own fabulous world by what we allow into our world. That's what I'm trying to, maybe that's my point of chatting with you. There is so many tweaks we can do without spending a fortune to create a more peaceful life.
Sure. Yeah, brilliant, Harriet. And what sort of people do you work with, Harriet? What sort of clients do you work with? And have you got a particular type of client?
Yeah, so I work with driven entrepreneurs that are really hungry. As Les Brown says, you need to be hungry to get laser focused, change their mindset and move from not performing to high performance, whatever that means to them. So people that want to leave their past behind and don't want, because sometimes we get so drowned in what happens to us that suddenly we're 60 and we can't be on our own, so the kids, we have the empty nest and we can't even sit in our sunroom, our beautiful sunroom that we've painted and we've gorgeous furniture. So I work really well with people that are open to knowing that they're a lot more than this voice that tells them that they're limited, that potential. It's all about helping people to access their true potential. And like, I just listened to Les Brown before we came on, and he was talking about it's a 5-minute clip. I posted it today, but he's a phenomenal man. But I connect with that because I know that I have that as well. You have it, John. And I just remind people, they go, you did this, Harriet, you did that. I just remind people of who they truly are.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love that. I love that approach, Harriet. It's like, it's you hand in the responsibility almost to your client and saying, listen, you can do this. You're the one that needs to do this, and you're just being the facilitator, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I'm a knowledgeable facilitator. Like the way someone is climbing up the mountain, I've been up the mountain. I know the crevices. I know the pitfalls. Yeah. So I can give people advice. Like if you're talking about the guide up the mountain, he might say, you need to strap your ankle if it's a bit, if it's a bit sore, we're going to rest here, take a bit more food now. You need to put on an extra layer. So like I have a huge knowledge of narcissistic abuse, trauma, all of those kind of, that information when we're going on this journey is so helpful because we can stay, we keep going up the mountain. It's like, come on, keep going. It's snowing, but it looks like it's going to be blue skies past this, because it's not for the faint-hearted. It's the road less traveled. But what's the other choice? Living in that dark headspace in your own kind of Auschwitz prison, in your own Holocaust prison. And there's many people listening right now or listening back that know about where they've been and the relief to, and so often people come to me it's the final piece of the puzzle, so some people might have done 11 years therapy and then this is the final bit for them. Some people have done no therapy before. They've never had a coach before.
You've got a real passion for what you do, Harriet, which is obviously vitally important. But that passion is just shining out all the time. I can feel it almost all the way from Kerry. And tell us, what else? What else would you? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, good question. So they can get in touch with me through my email, mindfulpeeps@gmail.com. So that's mindfulpeeps@gmail.com, or they can contact me through social media. For November, I can offer 3 people that are ready to move from that fear to abundance. I offer them a free call and I'll walk them through a roadmap. We'll have a map together. Like if we use the metaphor of that mountain, I'll tell you your blind spots so that you get out of that negative headspace, that underperformance, to being like what John is talking about, getting up in the morning, using your day to the maximum, looking at your sleep hygiene, looking at how you're living your day. And the lovely thing is often it moves you into abundance in terms of getting ideal clients and just feeling in flow, not like life is happening to you, that you're in flow and are in choice in your life, rather than just feeling I'm the victim here. As Edith Edgar said, victims are rigid, survivors are flexible. That's a writer downer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned the word abundance there, Harriet, which is one of my favorite words now. And that abundance is everywhere, and it's available for everyone.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's right under our nose, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess excuse me, gratitude, Harriet, is for me gratitude for what we have in life. That's would you say that's a fundamental?
Absolutely. It's like we might have people listening may have health challenges or financial challenges, or, you know, it's a bit like Edith Edgar saying that nothing is certain. Only the only thing that's certain is probability. You know, we never really know what's the next step. What's the next step? We just do our best every day. But being grateful, again, that's changing the gratitude changes the neural pathways. If we go into the science of it, even, John, it actually changes the neural pathways in our brain. If we do an MRI scan on someone who's a regular meditator and practices gratitude and practices a good mindset routine, the frontal cortex, which is our part of our bodies that helps us develop empathy and compassion, firstly for ourselves and then for other people, that's the gray matter is thicker in meditators. So it actually is a physical change. Yeah. So being grateful, again, we move away from that resentment. It's not that we don't have resentment, we're human. Like Edith Edgar talks about, you know, her frustration for years in relation to how she was dominated and what she lived through being a survivor of the Holocaust. But it's going somewhere with a professional to leave that resentment so that you can step into that flow of being grateful. Like she gave the example in her book about 2 war veterans, both lost their ability to walk after surviving what they survived. One was full of anger and rage, really felt sorry for himself, so probably in that stuck in that victim rigid place, which many people that listening know this. We all go into that at times. And the other guy described, she was working with both of them because she worked in this hospital, and the other guy said, I feel so grateful, he said, because I can see my grandkids' eyes much clearer because I'm sitting at where I sit now, I can see right into their eyes, which are the windows to the soul. The eyes are the windows to the soul. So he had a completely different attitude. And I'm always blown away by I'm like Edith Edgar in terms of I get the people that are meant to come to me, John.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just sometimes people with the ugliest stories that have happened to them, they're not ugly, but the worst of society they've been treated so badly, and yet their heart stays open.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite lines, Harry, is that life happens for you. So it's same. You believe that life is like your destiny almost to do what you're doing on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting thought, isn't it? And it's how we use what's presented to us. Do we turn towards living in our own prison or becoming prisoners, literally in Mountjoy, or do we live people can be in a prison in their own mind, or do we, turn towards gratitude, even though we might be struggling health-wise or money-wise, and just going, wow, what can I learn from this experience? Like what you said, Susan Jeffers is someone I would have read a lot. She passed away, but feel the fear and do it anyway. I would read, I have her little book, the little book Calm, and it's like, what can I learn from this experience?
Yeah.
Always being open to what can I learn? What can I learn? And having another thing to answer what you asked me, John, is I'm very connected with source. And I would say to people that that's really important as well, whatever we believe in. Buddha, whether we believe in kindness, it's not necessarily the Catholic Church, but music, whatever kind of gives us that break from those thoughts, is source. Sure. And handing over when we get anxious, we all get anxious, to that source. So allowing that support in. And so much change happens then. I would have come from a history of being bullied a lot and being a bully at times myself, because we all have both sides. And it's just not my reality now. My life is so much calmer.
Yeah.
And yours can be too.
Sure. And there's a lot of work now going on between the connection between science and spirituality, Harriet. That's like, I mean, there's fantastic work going on in the world now. So people, that information, so the scientific explanation of gratitude, for example, or the scientific explanation of the mind-body connection. I mean, that's incredible work going on now in the world. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's like for hundreds and hundreds of years, Buddhist monks were meditating, but now we have it all backed up by science, and we can see it now physically, the benefits of it, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, my favorite book I'm reading at the moment is Jay Shetty, Think Like a Monk.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love him.
Yeah, fantastic.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. So listen, Harriet, it's been incredible, and just in connection with the Your Holistic Academy project, we're delighted to invite you to as a guest today. And I mean, the work you do is fantastic, and obviously we want to try and support you in any way we can. So any of our members who want to reach out to you, please do reach out to Harriet. And I'm delighted that you're a guest today, Harriet, and I'm looking forward to coming on your show in a few weeks' time. Really
looking forward to having you on, John, and thank you for all the amazing work and service that you're doing. And I love your little acronym that's saying, make today a little special. Yeah. So guys, that's what I'll finish on. Make today a little special. Your last Monday of November 2020.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much. And if you put your information in the chat or the content afterwards, and people can reach out to you then. Yeah. Thank you so much, Harriet. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thanks a million, John.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.